Hi, my name is Jane Garibay. Many of you may know me from around town. I'm here in my capacity as a Windsor citizen that's very concerned about her town and budget and things that I hear. Even I've been confused, so I wanted to get to the bottom of what's really happening. So I invited Dr. Cooke here to be here with me today. Dr. Cooke.
Hi Jane, how are you?
How are you? Thank you for coming. I've just been hearing lots of different things around town, so I thought, and I watched the town council meetings, Board of Ed, and I thought I'd really just like to talk with you, and I thought if I wanted to talk with you, there might be a whole community out there that wanted to hear the answer to some questions.
Sure.
So thank you.
For the opportunity. Thank you.
First thing I want to talk about, because I do go to budget workshops with the town, et cetera, so I know they exist. The Board of Ed, how did you get the word out about what our budget was?
So in terms of the budget process, the board starts every year with open forums to hear from the community. In each of the workshops that we have as the board goes through the budget process, community members have an opportunity to share information with the board or share requests. They can also do that through our website, through our the superintendent's office as well, to share information. In terms of sharing with the public, we always go out to our PTOs and present the proposed budget to the PTOs, and also to our families. We share information through the schools with our families. And I also say this year we did a lot more work with our employees, starting at the school level and really working our way up through central office as we plan this year's budget.
And anyone can go to the PTO meetings, I assume.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
I know back from my days on the board, you know, thinking of $100 million budget and the schools piece, et cetera, I have enough difficulty with my home budget, so it is very difficult. But one thing I understand was implemented after I left through Rusty Peck. He got together with Mr. Miskovich and a bunch of people, and they came up with a format of how to present the budget. And are you still using that format, the notebook?
Yes, so we have a very detailed budget book that we've stayed with the same format. We've made some changes and additional information has been added each year.
Mm-hmm.
So as we strive for more transparency, I will say every year that I've been here, we've added more information. That's 6 years to the budget, but more so probably in the last 2 or 3 years, where we've put more detail on each of the schools and employee counts and things like that into the budget. The big change this year was something that came out of recommendations from last year, was to really add the number of grant dollars and grant employees. And so when you pick up our budget now, you see the entire staffing information for the entire district. And before, where grants were excluded from that, they are now included. And so I know that's been some confusion from citizens as they've looked at, say, last year's budget to this year's budget and said, how come the employee count does not match up, or how come there's shifts? Well, some shifts happen during the school year, and so for instance, teachers may be shifted around from a regular ed position to a special ed position, or from the middle school to the high school. Mm-hmm. That happens every year. But in terms of the grant positions, which there was a considerable number of grant positions mm-hmm. that was added to the budget to show that more detail.
That's great. Now, how does it? Because I've heard, well, where do you find it? So where would we find that book?
Oh, sure. So I know when the book was finalized, we sent it out to the libraries. It's been at the town. It's in our central office. It's online on our website. Our new website started just July 1st, so we are proud that it's now an in-house built website that is mm-hmm. saving us money. It's Windsor teachers and administrators are working on that now. So we ask the citizens for a little bit of flexibility and patience with that. But I know the budget has continued to be up on the website for anyone to see. And then budget documents as we've gone through the process.
Right, and if they have any questions, they can contact?
They can contact our central office, and so if they contact us at LP Wilson, their questions may be forwarded to the business manager or myself, depending on the questions, and we make sure. Yeah, and I'm proud to say any questions that have been out there, we've done our best to answer. I've gotten back to any citizen that's asked us any questions on the budget, and so we've been very responsive, I feel. That's
great. One of the other questions that I heard out there, or comments, is about a projected surplus for the fiscal year 2015. Do we have like this huge surplus projected?
Sure. Thank you for giving me a chance to answer that question. In our striving to provide more transparency, and we have a new business manager that's been with us this year. Her name is Danielle Batchelder. She's a veteran business manager, has worked in 2 other towns prior to coming, actually 3 other towns, but 2 other towns as a business manager. One just recently, a bigger community than ours, and has come to Windsor. And as she's worked through the budget process, she's also been working on providing more transparency and putting her own information into the budget. So she added some additional columns to a chart that we've worked with the board since September, and it's been the same chart. And one of the columns showed a tracking of our funds from the start of the school year to the end of the school year. And so as we began the school year, that line item in September provided to the board showed about $55 million in that line item. And it has continually gone down until this past board meeting, where in May, it's a May financial, because it's always a month late, a month in arrears. It showed a $6 million balance, but that did not include the May or June bills and also the June payroll. And so we also, in an effort, in something we have not done in the past, provided another document that shows the projected balance. And at the time, that was a projected balance of just a little over $3,000. So we're landing very closely to where we were budgeted for this year. I'm hopeful it's a little bit higher than $3,000, and we're still working through that process, because the board's budget really does not get closed from the prior fiscal year until September, because as I mentioned, we're still getting bills from magnet schools, we're still getting bills from utility companies, and working through that process. And the last payrolls have just gone out. So it's always the process. We get audited every year. We file a state report every year on the budget, and so there's lots of
a lot of oversight.
A lot of oversight on our budget, and we've always finished with some type of balance, which is typical in school districts. And this year, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, it was $3,000, and I expect it to be maybe a little bit better than that, but not substantially different.
Right. Well, I know at work we have the same fiscal year, July 1st through June 30th, and when we're preparing for our budget for July 1st, and we're having to make these decisions in April and May, and you're much sooner than that. It's very hard to calculate what hasn't come in and all that, because I know you recouped some savings back in February or March, and when you proposed the budget, you didn't know about those savings, but you came back with. Can you speak a little bit about what those savings were?
Yeah, so our process starts in November, and so we are in November making an insurance projection for the next fiscal year. So in November, we only have a few months of information, really 3 or 4 months of information in terms of our current year, and in our our experience rating was what they call it, so how much we're using the insurance. We're self-insured, as with the town, and it's been a very positive move for the district. We've had very good insurance, low increases over the past few years since we've been self-insured. So it's been a very positive move, but it makes budgeting a little bit even more difficult. And so at the time, we were looking at about an 8% increase. It's down to 2.5% today. So we were able to save money through that projection. And as the year went on, seeing that we're having positive, positive situation in terms of our self-insured. So we went to the council, because we found out that information really just before the board presented its budget to the council. So I felt, and the board leadership agreed with me, that it was prudent for us to go forward and share with the council. We found that savings. So that was $330,000 of insurance savings that we had. The other information is through the town, our work with the town, and I always am happy to report we have an excellent working relationship with the town, but the town was able to lock in our diesel fuel for our school buses early on in, I believe it was March, and again it was about the middle of March, and it was just before our budget presentation to the council, and that was $100,000 savings. It was about $1 less per gallon, and that was locked in for this current year that we're in now, the July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. So again, that's a substantial savings for us. Obviously didn't know that in November, didn't even know that in February when we were dealing with the
But as soon as you knew, you brought it forward. As soon as we knew it,
we brought it forward. So we're really pleased on those savings.
Okay. So while we're talking about the budget, the size of the budget, I know, or I've heard at town council meetings, that we are the fourth largest increase as a whole, which means town and Board of Education together, fourth lowest increase in the state in the past 10 years. That means out of 169 towns, we're the fourth lowest. What do you think about that? Or what do you think about your school budget? Where do you lay within the state?
I think we've been very fiscally responsible in our school budget, and so as I've mentioned, I've been here in Windsor for 6 years, 4 years in human resources, in the last 2 really budget cycles, as superintendent. And so I know we took a 0. I know we were at 0.99. I know we've been in the ones other years, and so. Other than last year, which was 2.85%, we've been well below the state average. So that does make sense to me. I know this year, recent figures have the state average about 2.1% for school districts. We're at 1.9% as we stand today. So we've always been coming in lower, than the state average, I think, in terms of increases. So that does make sense. I think we've done a lot of belt tightening and reductions as we've gone through, and so I think we've seen that. What I'm excited about and still proud of this budget is it still adds support for our youngest learners, our readers that need support at the K-2 level. It still adds math support at the 3 through 5 level, which is an area we identified. Still provides all the great things that we have here in Windsor, and there's no reductions of programs, or even as we stand today, no major staffing reductions in terms of programs. We currently do not have our kindergarten paras in the budget, and that's been a difficult thing to deal with. But it was, it was a decision we made through the budget process, and we're hopeful to continue to look at the budget and maybe at some point try and readdress that situation, because we know that was a valued help and assistance, and something that was really good for our kindergarten students.
Well, I know over the years, someone said to me, well, they really need to cut a VP at the high school, and I knew one's already been cut. There's 3 VPs for the entire high school.
Right.
I know parent center coordinators are not 1 per school anymore. They're, double. I think even our vice principals, some have gone down when you're talking about administrators, because one of the principals is for 2 schools.
Right.
Is that still true?
So, so we've reduced in the recent last 3 years, we've reduced a vice principal at the high school. We've reduced a vice principal at the middle school. We have some vice principals that only work 10 months. And so there have been reductions in administration. As you mentioned, our FRC leaders, which we're working hard through looking at grants available to us to try and get another FRC leader, to have each school have their own full-time person, because we know that's an important family engagement strategy and tool that's been successful for us. So we're constantly looking at ways to have 1 per school, because when you start to split people, you lose things. I mean, I think we know that, and families feel that, and they've felt that in the past. Going into this budget year, I felt, and working with staff, we did reduce 2 curriculum supervisors. So we have 2 less administrators today than we did before, and so we've gone through those difficult reductions and reshuffled and restaffed. The curriculum office, which used to have a curriculum supervisor for each of the main subject areas, now has 2 people that each supervise.
I didn't know all
the
that
different
had
areas.
happened.
Yes, so under the assistant superintendent, we have 2 people where we used to have 4. So I think we've made some difficult choices over the years.
Well, I know there's many people out there, like myself, that lived through budget cuts years ago, and when things were cut, it directly affected kids. It would be our music programs. We'd have to bring in Kleenex boxes. And I have to say that I respect the cuts that you've had to make in the last couple of years, maintain programs for children. So thank you for answering those questions. I know it clears up some of the thoughts that I had, and all I can do is encourage everyone to come out and vote on Tuesday, July 14th from 6 a.m. at 8 a.m. You can go to the Town of Windsor website, townofwindsorct.com, and it can tell you your polling place. If you're going away, please do an absentee ballot. It is important. This is our 4th referendum. If you have any other questions, if it's the town budget, which they did, council did come back and put some more money into the budget, but it was for town services, not for the Board of Education. One was a dispatcher in the evening, which was very much needed. So those things. So I just encourage everyone to come out and vote on Tuesday, July 14th. Thank you, Dr. Cooke.
Thank you, Jane.